In a world where GPU brands wearing thick leather jackets want you to pay more for more features, LAMZU released the Atlantis V2 and Atlantis Mini V2, giving us more stuff for the same price. Thank you, LAMZU. Now, this shouldn't usually be applauded, but to be fair, with our inflationary market, it's getting less and less common. So let's just be grateful when it's here. The Atlantis Mini V2 then. It's got a couple of slight upgrades, and I think it's really called the Atlantis Mini Nordic MCU, but a slight upgrade. But is it still competitive a couple of months after the release of the original Atlantis Mini, now that more stuff has come to the market? But let's focus on what has actually changed. And the main change here is the Nordic MCU, which is supposedly better in terms of responsiveness and input lag and sensor performance. It's still using the same Pixart 3395 sensor that the original Atlantis Mini uses. It's just that this MCU supposedly slightly bumps up wireless performance and connection stability, which is kind of ironic because the V2 Mini launched with some latency issues that had to be fixed in a firmware update. Kind of funny. Oh yeah, and do fix your firmware update if you do get this, because apparently the early firmware versions for the Atlantis Mini V2 have a bit of issues with it. But once you update, it's fine. The Nordic MCU doesn't really do all that much in terms of real-world performance improvements, to be fair. It feels kind of the same, which is kind of expected since in 2023 we've kind of hit a point with gaming mice sensors and wireless performance that we kind of hit a plateau. But what this Nordic MCU does allow for is for you to buy a $10 accessory, 10 USD of course, that allows you to get 4000 Hz polling rate, which is a very reasonable price to get that added feature. But because you are using this 4000 Hz polling rate, you won't be able to use the absolutely sexiest USB dongle I've ever seen for any gaming mouse. This crystal thing is gorgeous. 4000 Hz polling rate is debatable in terms of its impact in real-world performance, so it's not something that everybody will be roaring to get, especially for 10 extra US dollars. But if you are someone who wants the absolute best performance and wants to get the most out of the gaming mouse, and is not worried about losing a bit of battery life in exchange for 4000 Hz polling rate, this is a nice little add-on accessory. I do like the fact they didn't factor it into the cost and force it upon everyone, because frankly, most people, me included, will not benefit, will not notice, will not care, and will not want to pay extra for a 4000 Hz polling rate. If you do care about this, you can get it. Let's talk about another thing they have changed over the Atlantis Mini V1, though I can't seem to properly confirm this, is the side thumb buttons. They are a little bit more squishier and have a little bit more travel than I remember on the Atlantis Mini V1. Now, I don't have the Atlantis Mini V1 to verify this, but I distinctively remember the Atlantis Minis having a very sharp kind of side button feel with a very short travel. This one has a bit more travel, a bit more squish to it, which I think most people will be more used to than on the Atlantis Mini V1. Hey, I personally think this is an upgrade for most people, so not a concern. What they did keep though was all of the good stuff. So if you watched my original LAMZU Atlantis Mini review, you will know that I really like a lot of things about this mouse. The shape is absolutely phenomenal, aka a shrunk down LAMZU Atlantis, which means a great shape if you're too lazy to go watch that original review, for people with smaller to medium hands for claw gripping. And if you have medium to large hands, it's going to be a great shape for aggressive fingertip grips like this. It still retains the nice little scroll wheel that's rubberized and very nice to scroll, and it still has the excellent 50-gram super lightweight, which means it glides on mouse pads effortlessly despite its rather small mice feet. Also, if you think these mice feet are too small and unstable, it does come with nice bigger mouse feet in the box, as well as smaller mice feet in the box, so you can really tinker to your heart's content. But most importantly, and I'm about to go on a rant here, so prep your bum holes, the clicks are the same. So if you look at the new recent launch of the LAMZU Thorn, you realize that LAMZU has now abandoned sticking to their guns and gone with optical switches for that new mouse. Which means, in all likelihood, the Atlantis V3 and Atlantis Mini V3 will come out with optical switches as well. Which makes me very, very sad. Because the LAMZU Atlantis and Atlantis Mini, since the original Atlantis, have had one thing that always stood out to me, and that is the amazing, phenomenal clicks. The Atlantis has amazing clicks, and the Atlantis Mini, they use Huano Blue switches, and what that means is you get a super satisfying, super short travel click that is snappy and fast. It feels like Omron's elevated to God level. They're crispy, they don't have any sort of squishy post-travel, they sound good, they feel, they are perfectly tensioned throughout, and they're light enough that you can click them quickly, but not so light that you accidentally misclick them often. They are, in my opinion, the best mouse clicks on any gaming mouse I've ever tried. With the Thorn being announced and the spec sheet showing up, it seems like LAMZU is releasing a optical switch mouse and following free market trends, which hurts my soul because I know for a certain fact they themselves prefer Huano Blue switches. You know how I know? They told me on a call when I was talking to them about doing some sort of social media job for them. And I was trying to get a job when I was in London. We prefer Huano Blue switches. I don't understand why everyone likes the Carl GM 8.0s and Carl Opticals. And I told them the Huano Blues are better. I don't know what people are talking about. However, there is one thing that remains unchanged from the V1 that is unfortunately not that great, and that is the coating and finish of the mouse. It is super slippery. Not a problem if you're okay with using grip tape, which I perfectly am, because these are some of the best included grip tape I've used so far. They've got nice texture, they feel good, and have good coverage. But if you're someone that doesn't like grip tape and wants minimal grip tape and wants to be able to use a mouse like it's a G Pro X and just enjoy the built-in coating, then with the Atlantis Mini, you're out of luck. You're gonna have to use grip tape unless you want your mouse slipping out of your hand and flying across the room into another dimension. Should you buy the LAMZU Atlantis Mini V2? Well, it's the same as the Atlantis Mini, which I really like, with a couple of nice upgrades, and has the option for 4000 Hz polling rate, all while costing the same amount of money. If you already have the V1, this is obviously not going to be an upgrade for you. It's more of a evolutionary facelift. If you're someone who's looking for a wireless, lightweight, smaller sized gaming mouse, the Atlantis Mini V2 is a nice slight tweak over the V1, and I think it is still a very competitive option even now in 2023. Subscribe!